So I promised you a video on feeding, and this is it. This is actually a vast area and a vast subject, so I'll try and make it as brief as possible, and I'll try not to ramble, which I am prone to do. I used to feed kibble. I don't anymore. I now feed raw for, in my opinion, very good reasons. It's the most natural food to be feeding our dogs. I mean, we're told that processed foods aren't good for us. There are higher incidences of cancer, so on and so forth. And so why are we feeding it to our dogs when cancer in dogs is going through the roof? By the age of 10, 1 in 2 dogs will have some form of cancer. And I think it's up to 60% of dogs now die of cancer. The average age of dogs is also coming down. It's down to around about 10 now. So I feed raw treat pet food. It's a locally sourced food. You can probably get it yourselves if you have a look online. It's available. There's a wide variety of proteins. They've had duck, beef, lamb, tripe, chicken, and all combinations of all those. These come in 50-gram packs, so half a kilo. I split it in 3. I eyeball it. I don't weigh it. You could be technical and weigh it to know exactly how much they're getting, but I just eyeball it, and I can tell from what's in the dish how much they're getting. Now, these dishes are 14 centimetre wide dishes. They're only little, but they're 14 centimetre wide dishes. So I dish out a third of a pack. They're currently being fed between 7 and 8 in the morning, and they also have another meal like this between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. In the morning, they purely have the meat content, so the protein. So the protein is an 80-10-10, which means it's 80% meat, it's 10% bone and 10% offal. Just for reference, a growing pup should get roughly between 5 and 6% of their body weight. I think this lot are currently actually on roughly around about 7%, because they're going through quite a rapid growth stage and they're kind of looking fairly skinny. So I have upped their food considerably recently. On top of this, in the afternoon, they get a herb mix that I mix up myself. It's seaweed, mint and parsley. If you look up online, all the information is there. You can read the reasons why I add those particular ones in. Now, you can add all sorts in because herbs have all sorts of antioxidant properties and a lot of health benefits for them. And I used to also feed oregano and basil in the mix, which I do myself, but it's such a lot of work that I've decided to rationalise it down to those 3. So at the moment, and all the dogs get this, it's not just the pups, it's seaweed, mint and parsley. After the herbs, I add veg. Now this is lightly steamed sweet potato and butternut squash, which is really high fibre. It's full of really good nutrients for them. I generally only give this to pups unless I have a dog with diarrhea, and it's brilliant for fixing a diarrhea problem. My other mix that I do, which is completely raw, I don't cook it, is of carrot, kale and celery, and anything else I've got I will add in as well. Strawberries, blueberries, they're all good for them. Apples, pears, anything like that. I've got an industrial processor, so I blitz it all in that. I do kilos and kilos of it, and then I freeze it in tubs. Things like baby spinach, another superfood, is great because you can freeze it, crumble it in the bag and just put it on top of their food. So if you've never fed raw, and to make it easier for you, your pup will have packed in his suitcase a supply of Pro Dog raw food. This is a complete diet with veg, everything in it. I don't buy the puppy formula because the only difference is the price, and it's more processed than the adult. And our pups, they can cope perfectly well. They've always been on the adult. There's not been any problems whatsoever. There is a lot of companies out there that do these complete diets. There's a company called Nutriment. I've used them before. There's hundreds and hundreds of them. So you might find one that's more local to yourself, that you can get more locally instead of having to buy online. Price-wise, there's a massive variety. But there's loads of them out there, so you don't have to stick to one, because at the end of the day, raw is raw. Nurturing by Nature is another company that I've used. They don't do the complete formulas. They're simply sort of 80-10-10s. So you would need to add whatever else that you're going to add to it. The third meal of the day is made up of sprats, which is really important for their omega-3 fatty acid. And they also get a chicken wing, which at the moment I'm cutting into 2. I feed the third meal before bed, roughly around about 8 o'clock, but you can obviously feed it at lunchtime also. I'm very much a positive reinforcement trainer, and therefore treats are really important. I'm a dog trainer and a behaviourist, so I go through an awful lot of treats. So I feed natural, therefore I treat natural too, and I make my own treats. So they're mega easy to make. And if you want to know any more information on that, please just ask. They're really easy to make. So that's a whistle-stop tour of how I've reared your pup. It's a subject that I would talk about all day if I could, because I think it's very important. So if you want more information, help, anything at all, please just ask.